Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Got it.
So yeah, should be recording now.
Mhm.
So I know a little bit about Dom and Bomb, but I would love to start out just hearing how you two met and how you came to this like idea of like we're gonna start our own clothing line.
You want to start, Delena?
I'll start. Kim and I met at a communication consulting firm, and we both worked in public health communications um, for about almost 6 years, or about 5 years, a little over 5 years. And we worked very well together. And, we had a conversation. We went to lunch one day, and Kim and I had a conversation about the possibilities of what we could do together. And from that conversation just sparked all of these creative ideas. Um, the pandemic came and just overwhelmed us working in public health. And we kind of turned all of those conversations into a reality when we decided to leave our work in public health and public health communications and go out on our own and do something that was not only fulfilling, but we wanted to work together to solve like some real problems in people that not only do we represent, but that we encounter every day. And so when it came, it was really, Kim's idea to, create a fashion brand. And it was really came about trying to answer the question, how do we make clothes that will fit and that what people would love to wear and that we could absolutely feel represented in what we create? And that's how dom+bomb came about. It's a lot more conversations and a lot of hard work put into actually feeling confident enough to leave our, careers essentially to start something new. But that's how it all started. A conversation at lunch.
What were some of the other ideas that you floated around that didn't make it?
Well, it's not that they didn't make it. What's interesting is, so we first thought about building curriculum, developing curriculum to teach certain interpersonal communications in the corporations and things like that, or helping, maybe some organizations deal with some sensitive topics and, building curriculum on how to make the workplace better. But what came out of that was that we have an idea on how people should relate to one another, especially in the corporate world, that we did not see happening. And we thought, okay, well, there's some things that come naturally for us in terms of communication that maybe we could share and kind of change the world in the way that people see and treat one another. But that's coming out in the work that we do now. And we are in the process right now to where we are building curriculum and we're talking about training and consulting and having partnerships where we can help people, be creative and have a platform where they feel safe to be themselves and they feel loved and not tolerated, but actually celebrated. And so it's coming out now that those ideas of what we could help organizations do is actually coming out in our work, and we're having or being presented with opportunities to do that.
Yeah, I think really what we kind of what we started talking about in the beginning was really close to what we were already doing. And we're like, we're not going to see the kind of change that we want to see if we're just kind of like doing the same thing, but under our own business. Like we need to kind of burn it all down and start something completely new. And a lot of it we were talking about how the LGBTQ community needs safe places that don't necessarily revolve around alcohol, although bars are fantastic and really beautiful places to gather. But how do we create these other spaces? And so that's really, and especially fashion being such a key part of both of our communities, that's how we express ourselves. And we both have a lifelong interest in fashion. So it really made sense to kind of scratch that creativity itch, but also do something like completely different. And then, like Delena's talking about, we're looking at trainings on teaching people like how to measure themselves and how to style themselves and how to alter their own garments to be more gender affirming. So really, how can we help people to have fun with clothing and express themselves? So yeah, that's how it kind of evolved.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about the kinds of curriculum or the types of curriculum that you're offering and how you're kind of making these spaces. I don't like to use the word safe space because I feel like that is used a lot, but where people can just explore, that creativity, like how are you essentially being in community with these people?
So you're very familiar with the fit model process. So we've got probably, I think we have over 50 now.
We do. We're at 52.
Yeah, 52. And so it started out being, okay, let's gather some measurements and we'll have people try on some clothes. And what it really evolved into is people coming in and telling their stories and telling us what they needed. And a couple of things that came out of that was tailoring and styling. People need clothes that fit. And they need to be able to, if they buy it off the rack, they need to be able to alter it. There's clothes that they have in their closet that they want to wear that they need to alter. And then styling to help, especially people who are thinking about transitioning or are in the process of transitioning. So that need came out of all of those conversations. And so we started offering those services, but then we were like, there's other ways to get this information out. And we've been having some conversations with we're really early in the curriculum stage. We're in conversations with nonprofits to be able to offer it through them. And so what we're looking at is, like I said, how to measure yourself, how to make really simple alterations, how to style, like how to find your personal brand, and looking at virtual options so we can record them and then post them online so anybody can watch them, or a community setting where people can come out and maybe they're just experimenting. Maybe they want to try wearing a binder or some other item of clothing, and that's a place where they can come and do that and talk to us and get guidance on where to find things and what to wear that fits their body. Like we're talking about doing a class on ways to alter clothing to fit your gender, because there's little tricks that you can do. Like if you move the seam of the shoulder forward, it'll make it look like your shoulders are broader. There's just little things that you can do in items in clothing to be more gender affirming. And so teaching people what to look for when they go shopping and how to maybe do that on their own is part of the goal.
Oh gosh, that's so awesome. As someone who also needs a lot of tailoring and adjusting, because I don't, whoever made the size chart way back when did not include a lot of different kinds of people.
It was white man.
Yeah, well, yeah,
shocker.
Yeah, it always is, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
It's always there. Yeah. So yeah, that's just a struggle. And even though my grandfather was a tailor, like I just never learned any of that. So yeah, I think that's a really awesome thing for you to be able to offer. When you're doing this work day in, day out, what is like a mission or like for lack of a better word, like North Star that guides you to keep doing what you're doing?
I personally, as you know, a Black woman in Spokane, I feel like um, there are some tools that I possess into feeling confident when I leave the house every day, because it's not easy to build yourself up when there's so much hatred in the world pointing at you, you know. And what keeps me going is the feedback that we receive from everyone that comes in and interacts with us. You know, we schedule 30-minute sessions with people, and they'll be in there just, you know, pouring their hearts out to us for an hour and a half, because they've been looking for someone to talk to and someone to be in community with that won't judge them. And I come from a very strict, you know, Christian background. And, you know, because I am also a person who experienced a lot of trauma, you know, there's a community of people that did not embrace me. And I know what that feels like. And if I can do anything, you know, with my purpose in this lifetime, is to create a space where, as long as people are in my presence, they don't feel, you know, rejected, neglected, unloved, you know, misunderstood. And because I really do care about the well-being of everyone, like I just want people to be happy and be themselves. And I don't understand bigotry and hatred at all, but I know that it is my divine purpose to counter it at every chance that I get. And I realize, you know, I'm strong and bold and confident for a reason, and it's to help others be the same. And I, like Kim said, in order for us to be in a position to where we could really help others, we did have to tear down those old structures, even in our minds, because, you know, that's why we pursued our degrees. We wanted to be these corporate warriors, but that's not what fulfills us. And that's not what my purpose is. And there is no safe place for me here in America. And I don't want to create this image that as long as you're with us, you'll be protected in all ways. No, I think it starts in the mind and in your own heart about how you feel about yourself. I want to help people believe in themselves and have a lot of self-confidence, so that when they go out into the world, they won't be impacted as negatively as they would if they started down here. You know, it's, if you start up here and somebody tries to tell you down, then, you know, you're still up here. But if you start low, then you can only go lower. And I don't want that for anyone. So whatever I can do to help build someone up so they could be stronger in the world, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
That's what I
Absolutely. Yeah, we need a lot more of that. Kim, what about you?
Well, our official mission is to help heal people and help protect the planet. I can't remember, something like that. It's on our website. But what we want to do is really, the people that are coming to us, and we ourselves, we're hurting. That's, you know, Delena mentioned that. So if we can create a place where people feel joy and comfortable, then that's we've accomplished our goal. That for me is really what the guiding star is. And people will come into us, and it's not just LGBT, like this is everybody who comes in to see us. We've had people come in who have medical conditions who can't find clothes that fit. There's all different reasons why people come in to see us, and they come in and they're really, really guarded. Like, what is this? I'm giving you a chance. And by the time they leave, you can tell like this weight has lifted and they're so happy. And we helped them feel that way when they're leaving. And that's just the greatest high in the world. And it's like, I just want to keep doing that and keep spreading that, you know, go bigger.
So we totally just touched on it, but I want to talk about this more in depth. You know, like you said, we're hurting, we're all hurting, definitely. And you two are, you know, working with communities that are also hurting, have been traumatized in lots of different ways. How do you take care of yourselves? Because, you know, you're working directly with people, and there can be like that vicarious trauma too. And, you know, taking all of that on because you want to help, like, can be taxing. So how do you keep the momentum going, but also like take a pause for yourselves?
That's a really good question. And the first thing that comes to mind, I think, is we're is each other. So Delena was on the west side, as I mentioned, because of the birth of her granddaughter. And I was like, I got a very small taste of what being a sole proprietor is, and I'm glad that I have it. So I think we both are like, I need to tap out. Like, it's been a really long week. It's been a really long day. Especially I think you know, obviously Delena can talk about this, but has done more of the one-on-one measurements and those conversations. So I think that Delena carries a lot of that work on her shoulders. But it's really tough. My child is non-binary. We've struggled in school. They're in 5th grade. We've struggled in school. You see the news, you see all the legislation that's happening, and all of the attacks. And it's that also motivates me to keep going, because I'm trying to create a safer world for them and for everybody. And it's like, if it's safe for gender non-conforming people, it will be safe for everybody. So we have to, like, you know, what's the if we're not all free, if one of us isn't free, we're not free. I can't remember what the statement is, but that's the idea. So, but running our own business, we can do those things. We can do the tap out, and like, I just need a break. And so we have that freedom, and we're trying to, and as we hire people, we want that culture of, you know, when you need a break, you need to say something and take it and step back, and then, you know, we'll carry the baton and step back in when you're ready.
For me, I'm very spiritually grounded, so I really do believe in prayer. And, you know, you can ask Kim, I'll have my little crystals around and everything. I just like to be mindful about being grounded, because I do take in a lot of tears, and I do take in a lot of trauma, other people's traumas. And I realize that that's why I'm here, is to take in those things and give people advice that they would probably not receive anywhere else. And what I do to take care of myself is, you know, Kim and I joke about this, but it's true. If I spend the day socializing, measuring, talking, you know, helping people process emotions and things like that, you know, I'm not a professional, but I have lived experience, you know, and I have overcome a lot of things. So what I do is I say, if I spend a day doing that, I'm going to spend the next day, or as soon as possible, spend that day to recuperate and rejuvenate. And it might be, you know, I'm not going to look at my email until this afternoon, or I need a day off. But if it really depends on how much I put out and take in, and I just assess, you know, where I am and say, you know what, I need to block out everything right now and take care of myself. And I'm just getting better at that. And I think the pandemic helped me set boundaries around how much I can interact with people, and how much taking care of myself I need after doing that.
Yeah, it's important. And it's also pushing back on that corporate culture, right?
Yep.
Like having those really firm work boundaries, not, you know, working in a set schedule or a shift, you know, just because that's the way that we've always done it. and pushing back on white supremacy culture as well.
Yeah, that's really tough because we have that all of that ingrained in capitalism and all those things that are tied to it. And like we quit our jobs end of June, beginning of July 2021, and we launched our first line May 2022. And like we had all these plans to like get to market like in November, that fall, and we just realized that that wasn't possible and we had to like pace ourselves. So we really feel like we're laying the foundation for a sustainable business, even though, you know, if white capitalistic supremacist culture looked at us and be like, wow, what took you so long, you know, get that shit out there. And we're really, and that has taken a lot for me. That's had to take a lot of like deconditioning, and like I should have done 30 things today. I didn't work 12 hours. This is what an entrepreneur is supposed to do, you know, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, whatever. So I've still have to do that. Like what you got done today is great, and you're gonna start again tomorrow and everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I feel that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What has been your favorite part about creating dom+bomb so far?
That's tough. There's been a lot of great moments.
I know.
We had a model ask us where we were when she was 12. That was during our first photo shoot. That was really amazing. Feeling like I needed you back then. And we've had people say, I always feel really good in your clothes. I didn't know what to expect, but you just made me feel so good. Those moments, that has been really special.
My favorite part is making people feel like superstars. Like we have some models or people that have come for fit modeling that have also, you know, taken pictures that were used in our promotional ads, and they did not see that for themselves. You know, there are a couple that we work with that have done professional work in the past, but in terms of just being able to make someone see a different version of themselves and like gain a whole new level of confidence because of it, that makes me feel like $1 million.
Like that's so like beautiful and like awesome, you know, like showing a person this new version that they didn't know existed. I really like
Yes.
that. It's so sweet.
I think that comes along with the styling. It's funny how things work because Kim really did push me to the styling piece. And it was just about self-confidence and thinking, well, you know, I like things, but what if other people don't like it? But what happens is it's not about what I like, it's about tapping into that person's energy and, you know, kind of reading their aura and seeing, you know, what will work for them in terms of just being creative with it. And that's been working. So that part, and then the feedback I get from like helping people understand their own bodies and things like that, that is, you know, priceless to me. It's my favorite.
It's taken me a really long time to like figure out and also be real with myself, like, Lara, this doesn't fit you the way that you want it to. Get rid of it. Like it's not doing you any favors, or like this is a style of pants that, you know, looks the best on you, like, and paying attention to things and throwing like the letter, you know, SML XL, like just not paying attention to that because the sizing in this country sucks. Like, so it doesn't really like make a difference.
It's a global issue too. The sizing in all the countries suck. It really does. And that's one thing we had to learn is we had to formulate our own way of doing this because it doesn't make sense. The deeper you go, the more confusing it becomes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. How would you, you know, describe your work if you could only describe it in like 3 words or very, very short phrase, like what sums you up?
I don't know. The first thing that pops into my head is the name of our streetwear line, which is Read and Take Heed. Because we're like, it's all about this is how I am expressing myself, and you either need to respect it or move along. That's it.
That's
Where
great.
it's not a debate. We're not going to argue about it. This is who I am, and
Yes.
I'm fabulous, and I don't care if you don't like it.
Yeah.
I
So
would, if I could just sum it up using just words, I mean, 3 words, I would say innovative, bold, confident.
Yeah, I think that you totally incorporate that into your fashion line, and you can see that just by looking at the visual graphics, your brand, all of that.
Thank you.
yeah.
um what are like some other ways that people can, either support you or I don't know, if someone does want to get involved, what can they do?
Well, we still
Um,
have the. Oh, go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
The fit model forum is still on the website. We're still taking fit models. We just got a new one this week, actually.
Oh,
Because
awesome.
the more data we can gather, the more that informs our size chart. So we take everyone's measurements, and then there's companies out there doing national data, and then we look at competitors too. So we do an analysis of all of that, and so the more measurements that we get, the more accurate our size chart will be. And then just obviously buying our stuff, that's always good. Signing up for or coming in for our first styling appointment is free, so you get 30 minutes with Delena for free. Scheduling an appointment there, and then just liking and sharing and commenting on our social media. So
Great. So got kind of those questions out of the way, like that'll kind of help structure my article. But like what I am interested in talking about as people who like create clothing and stuff, so I try to pay attention to, I guess, the fashion industry as it relates to the waste that they contribute to, the fast fashion of it, the sustainability of it, or even is it sustainable? Are even like the sustainable brands being sustainable? Like, so I would love to talk more about that, what you have seen going through all this, and like, do you have plans to also address, because even addressing that I think is a huge undertaking. So how do you like kind of keep those things in mind when you're creating?
Yeah, so yes, that's very important to us, and we've done a lot of learning and observing what other people do, and there's a lot of that greenwashing out there where they're saying one thing but they're doing another. I think Levi's is the latest one to be in the news, because they've had people die in their factories, and they're refusing to. There's an accord, and I can't remember the name of it right off the top of my head right now, but they've refused to sign on to that. And it basically says we're going to make efforts to create safe working environments for our employees, and they didn't sign on to it. But we've been in conferences where Levi's is the keynote, like the CEO was the keynote, and they talk about all of their sustainability initiatives, and it's like we know this is bullshit. So that was really important to us, to not say that we're doing it and then we're not. The challenge is with the fashion industry, it's extremely hard to be sustainable in all things.
Yeah.
If you think about the life cycle of a garment from seed, to whatever the fabric is being made of, to, creating the fabric, dyeing it, sewing it, all that, the complete life cycle, every step of that is really hard on the environment. There's some really cool things happening as far as like sustainable materials, bamboo, mushrooms, and then growing them in certain ways to make them so it's not terrible for the planet. And technology and all this waterless dyes, so that they're not getting rinsed down into the rivers and oceans. And then but the another big problem is the waste at the end of the garment. So especially the US and Europe, the global north has a huge waste when it comes to throwing away our clothes, and that's burdening the global south. So if you've seen those pictures in like the Chilean desert and like South Africa and things like that, where it's just piles of garbage clothes. So there's a lot of different, and then you also have to talk about workers and the conditions that people are working in. Like Shein is one of the big offenders right now. That documentary just came out. Where, it's slavery conditions, and they're not the only ones. So you, as a fashion brand, you have to pay attention to every single step in the life cycle. You have to know what the working conditions are. So it's really, really tough for a small brand to start out to be sustainable in everything because of those systemic issues. So what we decided to focus on were the people. So we know that we can control that piece of it. So we have a factory that we will be working with to put out the next lines. They're in California. They follow they meet or exceed all of the safe working conditions, living wage, a safe factory. And then for our streetwear line, we have a printer that's out of, I think, North Carolina. They print on demand. They do print. They have factories around the world, but they report on the working conditions of all of those factories, and so you can look at all of that information. So we've vetted them as well as we could. It'd be nice to be able to travel to where our stuff's being printed, but down the road we will do that. But printing on demand is one way that we really address that waste. So it's not printed, it's not embroidered until you order it. So we don't carry inventory for that reason, because that's a lot of the waste comes from extra inventory for brands. And then by offering the tailoring services, we can help people keep their clothes longer. And even if it's you found something at a thrift store, you liked the print, but you'd rather it be a skirt than pants, like those kind of upcycling things we can do. We just had someone bring in like a bag of Shein clothing, and we reinforced it and tailored it to fit her, so it's going to last a lot longer. And you'll see some of these, like you'll look at blogs, they're talking about tailoring, and they're like, don't bother to tailor fast fashion, it's cheap, it's not worth it. But we disagree with that. Like if the Shein stuff is made to wear 1 or 2 times and then throw away. If we can keep you from throwing it away, then it's not going to end up in a landfill, and you can wear it way longer. So those are the ways that we've really addressed it. We're not perfect. Like I said, ideally we would go to these factories and visit them. And we are producing new clothes. So even though it's on demand, we are still putting new stuff out there. So we'll get better as we grow, but that's what we're doing right now to address it.
Yeah, that's really awesome. Could you tell me more about the people that make your clothes? Because I know you have a few of them, right? Or at one point did, that made your clothes?
We've done. So far it's just us for our essentials line. We didn't have pre-orders. The factory that we were originally working with, we didn't meet that minimum number because there's a minimum order quantity, which is just a thorn in the side of the factory. So we didn't meet that. The factory that we're working with now has a lower minimum order quantity, so that was a much better find for us. But so we made all of those ourselves. And then with the streetwear line, that's the printer that we're working with. So the next clothes that we come out designed by us, it'll be that lower quantity, and it'll be the factory in California.
Okay, gotcha.
In California.
Yeah, what does like the design process look like? How do you, I know nothing about, how to design clothes. So it's really interesting to hear how different creative processes come about.
We do a lot of research, whether it's trying to track trends before they blow up. So we'll attend fashion shows, read a lot of magazines, seeing what, TikTok, just a lot of the platforms that highlight, the fast changes in fashion and then long lasting trends. So first we try to identify what those things are, what the the colors will be for the next year, because there's always clues, but you have to read and you have to pay close attention. And, there are tastemakers and that people rely on. And then almost everything you see comes from the runway. And if you're paying attention, then you can pick up on what those things will be for the next season or for the next years. But it's kind of like tying all of those resources together and then seeing, okay, well, what is it that we want to produce that will look good on everyone, and not necessarily thinking about gender, but thinking about like what people would love to wear and feel good in. And so we take our design ideas, and Kim will make a pattern. Kim does all of our pattern making. And then we take those patterns and she and I will both sew up samples. We'll have people come in, our fit models come in and try on those samples. We'll alter the pattern based on their feedback on how they fit and how they feel and how we view the garment on that person. And then we'll make edits, to that pattern, like I said, and we'll just continue that process until we finalize the design.
So, I totally forgot what I was going to ask. But how would you describe each of yours as like style or like fashion sense?
I would say I like a very neat look with a pop of edge. Just a little bit of edge in there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I do like,
oh, go ahead.
I was just say I do like a very neat look.
We joke that our styles are really our names, like Delena is the dom on the bomb. So my style's a little I don't want to say crazier. I joke that it's a cross between did you ever watch Bewitched? Yeah, so Endora from Bewitched and
yes.
The inside of Holly Golightly's apartment. So I don't know if you've seen the tub couch.
So like maximalism, basically.
Yeah.
I love that. So, I love that.
That's a tub with a red or purple velvet cushion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. I know we've only talked a little bit about, these systemic problems that happen in the fashion industry. But if you were to contribute some, like if you have in the future, like chosen to contribute some efforts to undoing some of those things, what would be some of the biggest issues you would tackle?
That's a great question for today. We just had to deal with a fat phobic troll on our Instagram account so I did this post about how the bigger the size, the more fabric is a myth when it comes to increased cost. And they did not like that post. And we're arguing about the cost of fabric and things like that. And I was like, And basically they were saying that your line, because you're saying that larger sizes don't require more fabric. And I was like, that's not what I'm saying. We're saying that the fabric is minimal and it doesn't contribute to the cost as much as y'all think it does, which is what we have found through our process of learning about the manufacturing process. Mm-hmm. So all of these ideas about bigger people and how it's you're unhealthy and we shouldn't have to pay for your clothes and all of this nonsense, that's one of the things I would love. And there's more to it. I think that, you know, fashion gender categories are ridiculous. Like, why are we basing this on made up categories anyway? If you want to wear a tie, wear a tie. You know, want to wear whatever you want. Who cares?
Yeah.
So those are the fat phobia one is just really in the front of my mind because I'm dealing with this troll.
Yeah, yeah. What about you?
I will say, you know, as we get more followers and, you know, probably more people will feel entitled to let us know how they really feel. But I will say one thing that hasn't yet come up is racism. That's something that I keep my eye on. And I will say it's interesting, out of everything that we've posted, that the trigger was, or who was triggered, was someone that was fat phobic. And so because we are bold and confident and innovative, we have to come up with really creative ways of not becoming bullies as we encounter bullies. And that's really difficult to do, especially when my first reaction is to, you know, tell them how I really feel. But that's not, you know, you can fight fire with fire, but you're just going to burn everything down, right? So it's like how to be mindful of knowing that that person is probably hurting and clearly doesn't love themselves, and we have to allow space for that. And clearly they're not healed and doesn't understand what it takes for others to help others feel good about themselves. So I will say some of the challenge I know have not been seen yet. And I will say these little trolls that are popping up are good practice for us. But we're both communications people. And I think that if anyone can get it right and learn how to deal with all the negativity, it will be us. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We got this.
Yeah, that's great.
We've talked a lot about the intersectionality of what we're doing. And like, so we have a Black owned business, we have a queer owned business, we're tackling fat phobia, we're tackling transphobia and all of these things. And there aren't as many, let's see, how do I want to say this? We don't want to make assumptions that everyone feels the same way about all of those things that we do. Like, there are people that want to support a Black owned business, but do not want to support a queer owned business, and vice versa. So, you know, how do we kind of bring everybody together and educate? We know that, I mean, the combination of the two of us, what we're trying to do as far as gender, the services that we provide, the sustainability, like as you add those, the pool of businesses doing those same things just gets smaller and smaller. So we're out here kind of on our own. Not saying we're the first people to do any of this, but you know, it's we just have to remember to again follow that guiding star, and that we are going to have a lot of pushback for what we do, but the love that we're already receiving, that's going to sustain us through it. So
yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I'm wearing a boy's shirt right now because I previously had like a women's flannel and it just didn't button appropriately, but for some reason this like extra large boys shirt is like a better fit for me. So I totally agree. I think
Yeah,
splitting up clothing by gender is like, I want to wear like men's stuff, but like, yeah.
I know.
I
I'm a
want
big
men's
fan right now
jeans.
of men's shoes. Like
Yeah.
they're comfortable, they're stylish, and they're often better quality for the same price.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I was like, why are these men's shoes?
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Delena, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I wore men's jeans most of my high school life and adulthood because I like pockets and they fit
Yeah.
better. And the thing about it is the material is thicker. So if you want a real jean, not a cute little little fashion fake pair of jeans,
Jeggings.
I wanted a real denim. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to, go to the other part in the department store to get what you really want. But that's the thing is they think that we just want to walk around being cute and we don't have real jobs and you need real denim. Like I drove a truck. I needed real fabric that would sustain, you know, and it's just a lot of assumptions made going into making clothes for certain genders. And that's what we're trying to eliminate is stop making assumptions about people.
Right.
Sheesh.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we could probably talk about this stuff all day because I do have a lot of thoughts about, body image, clothing, how it's and how because, like women are the majority of consumers, like how much is just like geared towards them and how overwhelming all of it is. Including like beauty products, like that's a whole other Pandora's box. But is there anything else that you would like to share? Anything that we didn't cover?
I feel like we covered a lot. Delena, can you
I
think
do.
of
No, but like we're taking orders every day. But I just hope that what comes across is how much we care about the people we work with and even the healing of those who might be afraid of what we're doing right now, but understanding that we see more commonalities in one another in terms of my representation and Kim's representation. We see enough commonalities there to come together and show other people how much they have in common and how much we could accomplish together. And so I really hope that the work that we do together encourages and inspires others to come together and do the same, because we can get it done, but we all have to, we're not all the same in terms of what we've gone through, but trauma is trauma, pain is pain, bigotry is bigotry, and it's going to take all of us to counter the hatred in the world because it's not going anywhere, and neither are we. So we just have to get stronger.
Yeah.
And we get stronger by coming together.
Yeah. And I think that's also just like how it has to start, right? Like you just need to like be together and even, like cross-culturally, like we just all need to like come together to be able to start that like healing progress, all of that.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me.